Knockout Legends in the building. Like, comment, and subscribe. So today I'm going to talk about the Day of Reckoning um, fight cards, and I will talk about predictions and a little bit about the open media workout. So the first fight on the card is Herich versus Deori. And Deori's not fought since, I think it's maybe 2019, but he comes up against Herich, who's a solid opponent, and it's hardly really a hard test for Herich, but I don't know where they dug Deori up from. Anyway, it's been a while since he's actually fought anyone of actually note, but he was a decent boxer, I suppose, but maybe times passed. But Herich is 16-0 with 13 knockouts, and basically he's up next for, I think, the IBF, because he's mandatory for that. So Deori's 41 and 2-2, and he's lost twice. But it's been a long time. He's 41, so this should be arguably an easy win for Herich. Will Deori give him trouble? Possibly, but I can't really see that much of a stretch of trouble. I've seen a little bit of the media workout with I think them two, but nothing of real note to mention or anything of any real consequence, I suppose. So Herich wins, easy win, I suppose, and that would be really that, really. So moving on to the Frank Sanchez versus Junior Farr fight. Now that's a different proposition and a different kettle of fish. Frank Sanchez, a lot of people don't want to actually fight him, and I don't blame them. He's called the Cuban Flash, and for probably a good reason. He moves pretty quick for a big man. Junior Farr at one time was touted to be next big thing coming out of New Zealand, but since that he's lost. He's got a record of 20 wins, 11 knockouts, 2 losses and one by knockout. Now he got his chance to fight Joseph Parker, and he lost in that fight. But a lot of people were saying that he did actually pretty well when he fought Joseph Parker. But it is what it is. But anyway, after that he went on to fight Lucas Brown, and he lost by technical knockout. So Lucas still has the juice for some people, I suppose. So will Frank beat him easily? I think so. I think Frank's got this. I think it's Frank Sanchez's to lose. If you're going to get beat by Lucas Brown, I'm not saying that means anything. It just means that basically at this level, if you can beat Lucas Brown, then obviously you shouldn't be in the ring. But anyway, I reckon easy win for Sanchez. So Sanchez records 23 and 0, 16 knockouts. From Cuba, southpaw, fast, quick mover. he's getting on in age. He's 31, but possibly could be older. You know, the saying, black don't crack. But anyway, he's not actually stepped up in opposition as of yet. I think the only notable people I can see on his resume, if you want to call them notable, is Christian Hammer. That's about it, really. But there's no one else. There's Joey Dwecko as well there, the guy that famously apparently supposed to give Andy Joshua concussion. Oh, and I just noticed there's FA Jagber as well, which he won by unanimous decision. So that's a good win, because FA at one time was touted to be pretty up there, and I'm surprised they didn't get FA on this card, because he's only 19-1 and he's got 14 knockouts. And he did actually have a decent resume. But anyway, yeah, Sanchez is to lose. Moving on to the next card, we got Arslan Beck Mahmudov versus Ajit Cabel. So in this bout, a little bit different, but I reckon it's Mahmudov to lose, because he is probably the one that everyone would favour to win this fight. Cabel's not really fought that much, and he's not fought anyone since really of any note. Yeah, Zoro, but that was a while back. But I watched that fight, and he's pretty decent. He's pretty technical and very efficient with his punch selection, and just methodical in the way he does things. His record, again, not really much. I think Mahmudov and Chisora are the only notable people on his resume. There is a couple of other names that were at one time notable, but they're just so-so now. We got Pavel Sauer and Kevin Johnson, so it's just the run of the mill. But anyway, I reckon Mahmudov will win that bout, and possibly, if he can catch him, knock him out, because he's got a record of 18-0, 17 knockouts. Cabel's just got that little bit, his record's just that little bit more, 23-0. So he's got that little bit more experience, and he's 31. So Mahmudov is he's 34. So both pretty within that mid stage of not at the end of the career, but getting near there. But it depends on your conditioning and your fitness, and how well maintained you are and how disciplined you are in your career. So moving on to the next bout, we have Jay Apataya versus Ellis Zoro. Now, Jay Apataya, there's not really much more I can say about him. He's just that beast. He is basically, he's like how Breedis was in the cruiserweight division. So there's not really that much I can say about his opponent, Ellis Zoro, but not been defeated, I suppose. I think he's a Frank Warren fighter. 31 record is 17-0, 7 knockouts. He's a mover. He's fought Dex Spellman, Hosea Burton. That's about it, really, that I can name of any note from the British domestic scene. But this is a big step up for Jay to fight Jay Apataya. He's fighting basically the man in the cruiserweight division, the guy that's dethroned the king of the cruiserweight division. So you basically, this is David versus Goliath in a sense. So can he win? Maybe on his day, but who knows? But it's a tall order. But I think Zoro, Opataya respects Zoro, so he's not taking the fight lightly. So, but I reckon Opataya's gonna win that bout definitely. So we'll move on to the next card. So we got Daniel Dubois versus Jerrell Miller. Now, a lot of people will probably be giving Miller a chance as a favourite because he's not been defeated. But in his last fight, Miller didn't look that great. And also, Miller can't take his magic pills because, as we know, he's going to be under stringent observation. So, is the VADA test in this fight? I don't know. But ever since the Anthony Joshua debacle where he messed up, Miller's been like on a comeback trail, and I think he messed up again after that. But it is what it is. I was watching an old video about, I think, Miller getting interviewed by someone, and then a fan come up and called him a drug cheat, and he got really pissed and slapped the person's drink out of his hand and said, "Don't disrespect him." But the thing is the fan wrong for saying the truth, or is Miller wrong for reacting the way he reacted? I think it's a case of, because you've been caught with what you've been caught with, that you're angry about it, and maybe you're angry at yourself that you actually did what you did, but that's your fault. It's no one else's fault. So why did you do that? Who knows? But anyway, looking at Miller's opponents, Miller's got a so decent-ish resume. There is certain people on there say that we know. We've got Jared Washington, Marius Vac, Johan Duapis, Thomas Adamek, good old Bogdan Dinu. And then coming up, we've got Lucas Brown. And then obviously now, he's fighting Daniel Dubois. But someone was telling me that I think Zoro got offered this fight. And he turned it down for some reason. But I think maybe the fact that Miller is over 300 pounds and Miller takes magic pills, maybe that has something to do with it. That's possible. But anyway, moving on to Dubois. Dubois got a record of 19-2. Now them 9 fights, 18 KOs. So he's 26. And let's have a look at his resume. Now, he has not that many notable names on his resume, but he does have a few domestic names that we know. He's got Richard Latte, Nathan Gorman. There's also Kevin Kingpin Johnson, good old Kevin Kingpin, but he's not domestic, that's international. Ebenezer Tete. Then obviously we move up to Joe Joyce, then Bogdan Dinu. Then he beat Trevor Bryan for the WBA regular strap. Then he had that debacle with Karen Lorena, which he came through. Then obviously the Alexander Usyk fight, which was a controversy over the apparently low blow. Now he fights Miller. Now a lot of people are probably giving Miller the heads up for this fight because he's not been beat and he just steamrolls for everyone. Now Miller will probably win if it goes into the later rounds and his engine's decent and he's in condition, but he weighed in at 325 pounds for the Day of Reckoning fight media workout, and he was out of breath after the little bit of moving around in the ring. So I think the magic pills do have an effect on him, and if he doesn't take them, then his endurance is not going to be the same, and his stamina is not going to be the same. He's going to have problems with Daniel. Daniel's going to give him hell, and I think Daniel will beat Big Baby Miller if he's not on the magic juice. If he's on the magic juice, then it's a different proposition, because you've seen how he is. He throws more punches than any heavyweight in the actual division when he's on the magic juice, and at 300 pounds, that's an anomaly. So it is what it is. But anyway, moving on to the next card, and that is Dimitri Bivel versus Lyndon Arthur. Now, Arthur has done tremendously well to get in the position that he's got into, and he has had some pretty hard fights, and he's got a record of 23, 16 knockouts and 1 loss, and the loss is by KO. We know who the loss was to. So he's the IBO World Light Heavyweight Champion from Manchester's 32. He has fought, well, let me just have a look. I'd say Emmanuel Anim, that was a good fight. That he did well in that fight. Then the Dex Spellman fight, then he beat Anthony Yard. Then Anthony Yard got his revenge. Then leading up to that, the last fight that he had, the Suarez fight, he got tested in that fight because he was actually almost losing in that fight, but he came through and he won. But now it's a step up to Dimitri Bivel. So Bivel has a record of 21, 11 KOs. He's basically WBA Super World Light Heavyweight Champion. We know him from his fight with Canelo, where he beat Canelo. But he's got a pretty decent resume, and he has a few decent names on there. So we got Jean Pascal, Joe Smith Jr., Craig Richards, just mentioned Alvarez, Gilberto Ramirez. That was his last fight. And now he fights Arthur. So this is a kind of different proposition. I think the later the fight goes, it's more in Bivel's favour, because he's technical, he's strong, he's powerful, he can overwhelm you, and he's methodical in his approach. Now, Arthur is a good mover and a good boxer and a good counter puncher, but he fights better off the back foot if his jab is in effect. Now, he has had hand and shoulder issues in the past, so apart from if he is fully fit, no injury, and he is sharp and focused, it will be a decent fight. So I don't think Arthur will be going to look for Bivel. I think it'll be the other way around. I think Bivel will be looking for Arthur. But the thing is, if he's looking for Arthur, that's kind of made for Arthur, and that will make Arthur's day, which he will have success if that's the case. If it's the other way around and he has to go looking for Bivel, it may be at his detriment. So in that sense, it could be 50-50. Now, I want Arthur to win, obviously. But on paper, and being in the ring with who he's been in the ring with, and I'd say experience wise, and just basically being who he is, I think Bivel has a very high probability of winning. I'd say I'd give Arthur probably a 30% chance of winning. So the probability is high that Bivel will win, because he's not had enough more fights at higher level, Arthur, to fight somebody like this. And even though Bivel, at that time when he fought Canelo, wasn't touted to beat Canelo, and then he just easily beat Canelo the way he beat him, it's down to just being comfortable at the weight and experienced at the weight. Canelo can't use basically his his speed and his quickness and his counter punching ability to beat somebody that big. And some jumps are just too big. Cruiserweight is too big a jump to fight. I mean, light heavyweight is too big a jump to fight from middleweight. And I know it's only a few pounds, and people say, "Oh, it's this, it's that," but Bivel is a big guy. He's a real big guy. So it is what it is. So moving on to the next bout on the card, which is co-main event, which is Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker. Now, a lot of people would say this should be the main event, and to some degree, I kind of agree. The only reason it possibly isn't the actual main event may be down to the fact that Wilder's not fought as much in the past year. Now, Parker has a very good resume, and he's fought quite a lot of people, and he's tested, he's an ex-world champion, and he has got a good resume regardless of what people think. So he's fought Alexander Dimitrenko, he beat Andy Ruiz and won his belt. He defended against Hughie Fury, lost to Anthony Joshua, lost to Dillian White, beat Alexander Flores, beat Junior Farr when he was undefeated, won against Herich Zoro, the split decision, which was a bit controversial, and then the unanimous decision. Then he lost to Joe Joyce. His last 3 fights have been, I wouldn't say warm-ups, but they are what they are, and they keep busy fights. I'd say the Jack Massey fight was a good fight, and he blew out Simon Keane pretty quick. So going into the Wilder fight, he's had a good run. I really would say it's in his favour to win because of his boxing ability and his skill and his conditioning, and he actually does look a lot better under Andy Lee. And also in the Joyce fight, Joyce was just too big, so there wasn't much more he could do. He did everything he could really in that fight, and I wish he had more of that in his previous fights, like the Anthony Joshua fight and the Dillian White fight. So he may have had a better chance of winning those fights if he had that. But moving on to Wilder, he's got a record of 43 and 2 and 1. So 42 knockouts out of the 43 wins, 2 knockouts by the 2 defeats, and 1 draw. Now Wilder is 6'7". His record, it's a funny record because he's fought quite a lot of cannon fodder. And when you look at his resume, he has had a lot of experience and a lot of progression. I'd say his main step up probably was against Alder Harrison for him, who he knocked out in the first round. Then I'd say Malik Scott. Then obviously when he challenged Bermain Stavern, and he won by unanimous decision. Then just moving up, we just got the usual suspects of probably the cannon fodder of the US division. So he's defended against all of the cannon fodder, like higher tier cannon fodder of the heavyweight division in the US. And it's a pretty smart strategy, I suppose, to make your fighter get experience and still fight so credible names in the UK, in the US, and keep his belt, I suppose, because you got from there Eric Molina, Johan Duapis, Spilker, Chris Ariola, Jerrell Washington, then Bermain Stavern again, who wasn't even in condition for that fight. Then arguably his next step up was Luis Ortiz, And he was losing that fight until basically he knocked Ortiz out. In my opinion, the referee is a bit shaky in that fight, but it is what it is. Then obviously went on to the Tyson Fury fight, which was a cherry pick, and he lost by. Well, he didn't lose, it was a draw by split decision. Arguably Fury won that, but the times he dropped Fury made up for his shortcomings in the fight. Then another step up against Dominic Brazil, who he laced in the first round. Then Luis Ortiz again, who he beat in the 7th round. Then the 2 losses against Tyson Fury. So 7th round technical knockout, and then the 11th round knockout. So then on to the Hellenius fight, which was a 1st round knockout. So going into the Parker fight, I would say on paper, Wilder's the favourite, but technically Parker's the favourite. Now, if Parker boxes the right fight and can stay out of the way of that big right hand and doesn't give Wilder space to wind it up and set him up to throw it with speed and accuracy, he will win the fight. But the thing is can Parker have the focus and the determination not to get rattled by Wilder's power? Because when he throws it, sometimes he throws it crudely. So if he gets a bit undisciplined and starts getting ragged and starts throwing haymakers, will that rattle and unnerve Parker? If Parker can hold his frame and his countenance, I reckon he will win, because he threw everything he could at Joe Joyce, and that was a good fight, and arguably he just got overwhelmed by the bigger guy, because Joe just doesn't stop, he just keeps coming, and he threw everything he could at him. I think he fought Joe too late in his career, because he'd been through the fights he'd been through. If he'd arguably fought Joe sooner and caught Joe when he'd not got as much experience, there's a good chance he probably could have beat Joe. You know what I mean? Because Joe is beatable, as we saw in the Zhang fight. He could have countered him and set him up, but the strategy, probably what he used in that fight, didn't apply to Joyce, so he lost. But anyway, my pick for that fight, I'm gonna go with Parker technically, but that's if the fight goes on longer. If it doesn't go on longer and it's a short fight, Wilder will probably have a good chance of winning the fight within the first 5 rounds by knockout. If it goes longer and he can gas out Wilder and take his legs so he can't wind him up with a big punch, possibly Parker. So I'm going to go with Parker, just for the fact that he's the better technical boxer. He has knockout ability. He's been on a 3-fight run, and he's got that little bit more under his belt, and he's more active. But for the knockout, it's going to be probably Wilder. So we'll go with Parker on this prediction. So moving on, we've got the main card, which is the headline or the co-main event, which is Anthony Joshua versus Otto Valen. Now, Valen, a lot of people rate him highly because of his Tyson Fury performance, and also his masterclass of Gassiev. Now he has a record of 26, 14 KOs, 1 loss. Now he doesn't have that many notable people on his resume until Tyson Fury. Then after that, we've got Travis Kaufman, Dominic Brazil, Rido Booker, then the Gassiev fight, which he won by a split decision. So going into the fight, he's fighting Anthony Joshua, who he's fought twice before in the amateurs and lost to. And Joshua has a record of 26, 23 knockouts, 3 defeats and 1 by knockout. Now, everyone knows Anthony Joshua. He kind of revived the heavyweight division and basically is the media darling that everyone likes. Now, looking at his resume, we will look at domestic and then obviously international. So we've got Matt Skelton, we've got Michael Sprott, Jason Gavin. Then moving on, we got Kevin Johnson again. He's been more used in a recycled paper bag. But anyway, then we got Gary Cornish. Then we got the grudge match where he fought Dillian White. So he beat White, 7th round, technical knockout. Then he went on to get the title of Charles Martin in the 2nd round knockout. Then on to Dominic Brazil, Eric Molina. Then to the epic bout with Vladimir Klitschko, which was a good fight. Then the Carlos Takam fight, Joseph Parker. Then he took another belt off. That was a 12-round decision. Then Alexander Povetkin, which was a hard fight, come through the broken nose, but then he beat Povetkin in the 7th round. Then the fight that we were supposed to have with Jerrell Miller, who obviously messed it up. Then Andy Ruiz stepped in at the last minute. So he lost by a technical knockout, 7th round. Then he went on to beat Ruiz in the rematch in Saudi, 12th round unanimous decision. Then he went on to fight Kubrat Pulev, 9th round knockout. Then Usyk, he lost by unanimous decision, and then lost again by split decision. So then he's gone on to fight Franklin, 12th round unanimous decision, and Helenius, 7th round knockout. So this will be his 3rd fight in 2023, and a lot of people are saying this is his hardest fight, and arguably a banana skin if he was to fight Deontay Wilder, if that's what this fight is a lead up to. Personally, I don't think it is. I think he's teasing everyone else with that, but arguably his sights are on the IBF mandatory spot, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Valen is mandatory for the belt. So if he beats Valen, he gets his mandatory spot, and then he can fight Herich, who should come through for his spot to fight for the IBF belt. Because I think if Usyk and Fury fight, then obviously after that fight the belt's going to get given up, because the IBF are very strict. They don't play. They'll just strip the fighter of the belt if they don't fight who they're supposed to be mandatory to fight. But again, the IBF are very selective on who they decide should fight and when they should fight. So I don't know about some of the rules. They're a bit iffy. Some of the boxing organisations make them up as they go along. But anyway, moving on to my prediction of that fight, who do I think will win? Valen has the propensity to win if he can take Joshua to the later rounds and tire him out, because Joshua's a bigger guy, and we know he gasses after about 7-8 rounds. Muscle, too much muscle, not enough oxygen, can't get enough oxygen in the blood, tire you out. Basically, that's why a lot of people argue about having to being too heavily muscled in the boxing sphere of the sport, because too much muscle equals less oxygen, because body gets tired. But anyway, Valen is a good mover, good technical boxer, very fluid, good counter puncher, very good at combinations, good at setting you up, getting in and out of traps, pretty mobile, all round good fighter. Now, Joshua is obviously, a lot of people are saying he's not the same since the Andy Ruiz fight, and now he's lost to Usyk and stuff. He's faded, he's got lack of confidence. Arguably, people may have their own opinions, but I think in this fight, I think Joshua's got something to prove, and he's got a statement to make. And with all the media and all the circus that's surrounding everything and all the pressure that's there, he's actually came through it all pretty unscathed and pretty relaxed normally from the way he normally is. So I think he's actually learning to deal with a lot of the circus and how to project how he really feels in general. You can get the sense that Joshua he's not really there. He's just there in essence, but in spirit, his mind's in the ring. He's thinking about the actual fight. His mind's on Valen, you can see. And the way he was in the first press conference with Valen and the way he kind of reacted to Miller and other things, you can tell he's kind of focused and locked in. So we're going to have a good fight here. I reckon someone's going to get knocked out, and I think it's going to be Valen. So I won't be surprised if Valen gets knocked out, maybe 7th or 8th round. So there is that. So the media workouts, a lot of the fighters did a little bit of shaking and moving. Some just kind of warmed up and did what they wanted. Joshua at the end didn't actually do anything really. He just walked around the ring and let the kids do, showing them out there boxing in Italy. So in all, the whole event, it's a good lead up to the fight, and you can get to see a little bit of some of the fighters and what they've got to show and whatnot. To be honest, the Deontay Wilder and Josie Parker media workouts were really good because they actually did quite a lot. Wilder did quite a lot actually as well. So it seems to me that Wilder's working on his conditioning and his moving and his actual overall boxing and his skills, and he's kind of going back to the essence and trying to refine what he already has and actually improve on his technical ability, because he does have a good jab. He's got a fast jab, and he did actually look well in the ring fighting. So it's going to be interesting if that translates into the ring, because if you remember the second Tyson Fury fight, he did actually use a jab and he went to the body quite a lot with Fury, and Fury for about maybe 3 or 4 rounds was a bit like nonplussed because he just kept trying to come forward to bully him, and then eventually he reverted back to his old style of fighting, Wilder, and then Fury got his openings and got his chances, but he also got knocked down. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is if Wilder can implement that style with what he's learning now and implement it against a mover like Parker and is effective, then he may actually set Parker up with the big right hand. So that'll be interesting. But anyway, overall a good media workout. Pretty long event. Crammed as much as I could into the actual segments, and suppose it was good seeing Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren on the event and gave their little 2 pence on the zone. So anyway, what did you think of the event, and who do you have to win for their respective cards? Leave your thoughts in the comment section, and please, I must stress, like, comment and subscribe. That is another one from Knockout Legends.